starting now?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Hello. Hi, guys. So this presentation has been sponsored by Symantec. Relentlessly protect the world's information. Make a difference at Symantec. Across the globe, we are an essential partner to both consumers and businesses of all sizes. We combine our talents, our brains, and our creative energy to reinforce our place as a world-class technical community. And start, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. By sponsored by, that does not mean I got paid by Symantec, although I'm very much open to the possibility of being paid by Symantec. Uh, Pretty much okay with that. So welcome. I feel like it's a hard act to follow the keynote because it was a really good one, and I'm going to try my best to not be too boring for you for the next 50 minutes or so. This is going to be a little bit interactive, so if you have a computer, you have the Wi-Fi, you need the password, there's an orange-shirted guy right there that has it on his shirt if you need it. And I will, have some stuff up here that I want to show you guys, that I want you to try out, even today, even right now. So welcome to mean stack development using open source tools. It's a little bit different than just straight mean stack development. This is a process of developing that allows you to stay in the open source world completely. So from start to finish, you can stay open source if you want to. I every time I come here, I see people presenting on a Mac, and it used to piss me off a little bit because I'm like, this is an open source conference, but you have a Mac, and then I turned into one of those people. So, but what I'm gonna do is, yeah, I know. It hurts a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I need a sticker to cover it. But what I'm gonna show you, the tooling here is gonna be mostly done in a web browser in Chrome. So, and you can choose any web browser you want to. It should work pretty well. So that's me. That's my Twitter. That's GitHub. That's my website, which actually just goes to my LinkedIn page for now. But I will put some stuff up there in the near future. Also, notes about this presentation. How many developers are in the room? I'm assuming most people are developers at some point. Okay, so quite a few. How many of you have done any development with the mean stack? Okay, how many know what mean stack means? Mostly. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah. At least to give you a little bit of a primer in some of that if you don't know it. So we're going to go over what does it mean. I'm going to give you a very highly opinionated development stack. I make bold statements that I don't back up with any evidence, and that you're just going to have to deal with it. We're going to go through some examples. This is going to be actually basically a live coding demo, and not only a live coding demo, but a live collaboration demo. So one of the things that we're seeing in development, and you guys know this too, distributed teams, teams that aren't maybe working in the same place or near each other. But we know that pair programming and working and collaborating in real time is important for developers. So what I'm going to show you are some tools that allow us to collaborate. Even though you're over there, I'm over here, we could actually be across the world from each other, and we could still collaborate on code in real time. The way I say it's kind of like Google Docs for code. And then a little bit of a preview into what the next steps are in the development world in the mean area, in that ecosystem. So what does it mean, right? Well, first, mean.js, kind of the first place that I really saw the term officially used. I know it had been kind of circulating and whatever for a while, but mean.js is its own thing, its own open source stack. We're not actually, this presentation is not about mean.js, this specific library. So mean is an acronym for MongoDB, Express, Angular, and Node.js. Right? This is a kind of like the LAMP stack, where we had this really, weird term that we decided we wanted to call everything. That's what mean is about. It's another kind of stack. But today's talk is not actually about this particular stack either. In fact, you could easily do something, as I had learned, today. Why would you use the fourth fastest NoSQL database when you could do it in PGREST? You could use IOJS for the back end, Ember for the front end, and SCaLE as your development framework. Totally legitimate as well. And actually, that's a pretty good one. That one's pies, and like everybody likes pie. I think this is actually more about full stack JavaScript development. I needed to center that and it didn't work. I thought I might be standing here. So, what is full stack development in JavaScript? It means JavaScript everywhere. Um, you can do JavaScript on the front end. You can do JavaScript on the back end. You can do JavaScript on, later we'll see like a robot. JavaScript everywhere. And why is that important to have the same language everywhere? How many of you as developers have worked at a company where you had to go to the fill in the blank guy to do something? How many of you have worked with Oracle stuff and had to go to the PL SQL guy to get views done? Or maybe you were that guy, yeah, and that was it sucks, right? It totally sucks. When you have all of your developers with the same skill set, you get a much more fluid team. You get a team that can work together easily. You get a team that doesn't have a point of failure. You get a business that runs more efficiently because IT is the core of most business today. And the more efficiently IT runs, the more efficient a business runs. But there are a lot of languages out there. So why the hell would we use JavaScript, right? JavaScript, it's a toy, right? It's a toy language. It was written for, a joke by Netscape. It's almost like a bad prank, right? Well, actually, it's not true. JavaScript has come a long way since 1998, right? That's when I started doing development on websites, was 1998. And back then, you didn't use JavaScript because JavaScript sucked. Nobody did it right. You had IE4 back then and transitioning to IE5, which, good God almighty, you thought IE6 was bad. You couldn't use it on the website because it just didn't run well. It would crash. It would freeze things up. It would break rendering. So actually, JavaScript's also changed a lot since 2006. In fact, there's been a lot of changes in JavaScript lately that have made it a compelling language for not only new programmers and beginners, but also for very serious development. So 1998, that's your JavaScript on your page. You just didn't use it. 2006 rolls around, and that's about the time that John Riesig released his jQuery library. And there were a few other competitors at the time, but jQuery is really the one that took off. And what you had was the ability to write JavaScript that was kind of a cross-platform compatible, in a cross-platform compatible way. You earned things like, selectors that looked like CSS, but what you ended up with was jQuery soup, right? You had spaghetti code everywhere you did your jQuery. And if you tried to write a very, very large web app in jQuery, if you didn't do it exactly right, it would be a nightmare. In fact, so recently, as of August of last year, I was working at the Riverside County Office of Education here in Riverside, California, and we were working on an ERP system, entirely web-based ERP system. It's not a slouch either. It manages about $10 billion a year in money that goes through the entire Riverside County schools. And the decision was made to migrate from our old system that was based on Java and use the Microsoft Java Virtual Machine, which, by the way, was deprecated in 2002. Still uses it today. For some reason, it still continues to be supported by Microsoft. At least it's included. But they needed to move away from it, and the decision was to go to the web. The first version we did, jQuery soup. It was when I came in about 2 years ago. We had jQuery soup, and we had 55 screens we had to write, 550 different interfaces. We had written one screen and 3 interfaces, and already it was going so slow we couldn't use it anymore. In 2015, JavaScript looks more like this. JavaScript now has classes that actually make sense. It's not using it may be under the hood using prototypical inheritance, but it doesn't have to with the developer. It's code that is much more familiar to us. It allows us to use architectural and design patterns that we're used to, that make sense to us. This makes JavaScript much more compelling. And you have frameworks like AngularJS that have also done their own architecture that have made larger web apps much easier to write. We rewrote our ERP system in Angular. We did a modular architecture in Angular. It took about 6 months to rewrite the whole thing. And when we were done, we were getting the same performance with one screen as we were with 100. So architecture, software design, had to evolve before JavaScript could become a serious language, and that's why it was considered a toy for such a long time. And now it's not really considered a toy that much anymore. It's kind of fun to poke fun at it, JavaScript, but there's some serious people taking a look at it and using it in big environments in a big way. And ECMAScript 6 is the spec that's really going to make that's what's going to take it from where it was to where it will be. ECMAScript 6 adds, ES6 modules, so real self-contained modules, things you would expect, class syntax, which looks familiar to developers. That arrow and function generators, these are dynamic programming constructs. And it's available today. You can actually go on, if you want to do on the front end, there's a project called Tracer. You can dump ES6 code right into your website and add tracer.js, and all the ES6 code works just fine. It's an ES6 to ES5 transpiler. So it takes your ES6 code and just converts it to ES5. If you're familiar with CoffeeScript, they do the same kind of thing with CoffeeScript on the front end. You can write CoffeeScript code, and then the transpiler will just convert it to JavaScript. Same thing, but now with ES6. So if you're using CoffeeScript today, be prepared. It may be, losing its life to ES6 very soon. And you can find it at github.com/Google/the Tracer compiler. And yes, it is actually on Google's GitHub account. It's sponsored by Google. The code is maintained by Google. And on the back end, you have IOJS, which is actually a project that was created by the creators of Node and some of the core contributors of Node who left Node and started IOJS. And IOJS is Node, but in ES6. It's compatible with the NPM ecosystem, so you can use all the modules you already use in Node.js, but you can drop them into IOJS, and you get all the fanciness of ECMAScript 6 now, too. This is also available today, like Node, but better. Yeah, this is also available today. Heroku announced that they now support IOJS. The development environment I'll show you in a moment supports IOJS. Within the last 2 or 3 months, it's gone from really not having any traction to being everywhere. And probably Node.js will likely start to move in the direction of IOJS. And JavaScript becomes one language to rule them all. All right. So, a highly opinionated development stack. What I'm going to show you is the development stack that I've come up with in working with Node.js over the last 3 years. So, backstory on this one, I'm the founder of a company in Santa Monica called Carte Blanche. Our entire system is built in Node.js on a mean stack. We work with developers all over the world, contractors, people that sometimes come in and then bounce back out relatively quickly, some people that have been with us since the very beginning. A lot of different developers all over the world. And so what we needed was a way for us all to work together efficiently, easily, and still develop on this stack. So what I'm going to show you are the tools that I found that have been essential to our development process. So the first one is Cloud9. Anybody in here use Cloud9 before? Okay. Cloud9 is an entirely online IDE. I'm sorry. It's an open source IDE. I gave it away. It's an open source IDE that's entirely in a web browser. So you no longer have to keep your environment on your computer with you. You no longer have to worry about the fact that I have a Mac. Because now your development takes place on a remote server somewhere. You can run this inside of a Docker container. It drops into a terminal there on the bottom. You actually get a real root terminal that you can play with. You can install anything you want in this thing. It's a virtual machine, runs Ubuntu. It's just like having a workspace, except you also have a Collaborate tab that allows you to invite other people onto your project and edit, create with you. At the same time, you can watch each other's code as it changes. You can pair program with somebody on Skype or whatever your VoIP choice is while you're actually coding together. And we've done this quite a bit, actually. We've done code reviews like this. We have the process that you would expect from a software development team, even though we never see each other. We're in different countries and we've never actually met. You can set it up locally too. So Cloud9, they have a hosted solution, which is what I'm showing here at ide.cloud9.org, c9.org. But they also have a It's an open source project. You can get it on GitHub. You can download the IDE, set up the server for it. There's a project that actually has a Docker container for it, so you just download the Docker container and you can deploy it to wherever you want, your own, virtual private cloud, OpenStack. You can even put it on Ubuntu, whatever you want. And your team can still connect to it as long as they can connect to each other. I use the cloud service one right now. I've toyed with the idea of using our own, and we actually had a server set up for a while, but it was just not cost effective at the time. It was their cost is so cheap, like pretty much wasn't. It didn't make sense to keep it there. But yeah, if you wanted to, if your organization requires it, or you feel personally that you need to have it on your servers, which probably a good idea. Yeah, you download it, install it, and you can open it up to your team, and they can all use it. And you get all the features that it has in there as well. You get all the features like collaboration. There's nothing that's limited about the open source version. Yeah, they'll be online. And actually, what I'll do is I'll show you the Cloud9 editor. Sorry. So that's it. This is Cloud9. I am running it inside of this hosted environment. I have a project up on GitHub just called SCaLE demo. I basically just took the example app that they used and kind of threw it together. And in a minute, when I do the show me part, when we do the examples, I'm actually going to have you guys code with me, and we'll see how that process works. It's probably going to suck, but normally it works pretty well. When you only have a few developers, it's actually a very efficient way to work. And yeah, we use it all the time that way. They use Git. Yeah, they use Git actually, and you can. Correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can do Git, and it has the terminal Git's installed inside of their virtual machines anyway. So you can also use Git for your own virtual, your own version control. Um, I'll show you in a minute too. We can do the one during the live coding demo. We'll work through it together. I'll show you some of those as well. All right. So another thing came out of the Cloud9 project, and Cloud9, I should say, they've been around for a long time. They've actually been around for about 12 years. They started out as a company called Ajax.org, and the term Ajax is around the same time that term became popular as when this company sort of became popular. So I have not figured out yet who is the chicken and who is the egg, but it seems like there's a relationship there. The UI that you saw in Cloud9, this really cool IDE, very responsive JavaScript app, huge JavaScript app, was written with their Cloud9 Architect module. So Cloud9 Architect is a way to write modern web apps. The framework that I developed for Carte Blanche uses Cloud9 Architect, and I'll show you guys that in a minute as well. But just a better way to write code. It has dependency injection. It has what they call compile time. It's actually load time checking. So if you have this service dependencies, it checks the service dependencies as soon as you start up the app, so you don't run into any bugs or issues when you're actually trying to make it run. And Docker. So we use Docker. Docker containers allow you to deploy it. And how many of you know have seen some of the Docker talks? I know there was one for Nginx. Yeah, I've seen it a lot here, which I'm really excited about because it's a pretty neat technology that you can take this sort of pseudo virtual machine, kind of virtual machine, and create your environment in it and then deploy it everywhere. And that's what a lot of these companies are using. We used Heroku for a while. We still do have our production instance running on Heroku. And the reason I switched to Docker was because I liked Heroku, but I didn't like being stuck on Heroku. I'm like you guys that way. I hate when vendors try to lock me in. I think that sucks. And if I can do my stuff with open source, that's what I'm going to do. So this gave us a lot more flexibility. And it turns out there's actually a project out there that allows you to convert your Docker or your Heroku configuration to Docker. It's about 100 lines of code, and now you have a Heroku, basically your own personal Heroku You can also use Git to push to it and do deployments automatically and stuff like that. So really pretty wild. And that's what we also use for this is we use the Git deployment process. So all of our deployment is done with Git hooks. All of our dependencies are defined in our package.json file. So if you want to deploy a brand new server, there's no configuration management difference other than a couple of environment variables that have to change between our production and our development environment. So everything that we do in development is going to be the same as everything we're doing in production, less a few configuration variables. We use MongoDB. Why do we use non-MongoDB? Why would I use the third largest or third fastest NoSQL database? That's a joke. These guys, my friends back there, have been at this conference since Thursday, and that's been like kind of the thing is Postgres is everywhere, and they keep pushing. Yeah, that's right. They're everywhere, and they've got this new solution that's supposed to be, it's a NoSQL solution that has better performance metrics than Mongo. So I keep making that joke. Why did you use the fourth fastest? I don't know. They keep saying it. I think that, yeah, yeah. Hmm. There you go. Yeah, and that was something we talked about. I had PG Rest up there. I mentioned a minute ago. Yeah, in Mongo we use the native driver. We use the wire, and if they have a simulator for it, that's even better. So why do we use NoSQL? Because the data that we're using very much resembles a collection, a record inside of a database. We don't want it to be relational if we don't need it to be, because most problems are not best solved by relational databases anyway. There are a lot of classes of problems that aren't. And one thing that anybody here from Drupal? You are? Okay. You guys might not like me. Because I don't. I am making an assumption. So one of my thoughts in NoSQL is that likely, unless things have changed, NoSQL eventually will make content management systems like Drupal and WordPress obsolete. They're going to go away. Yeah, you'd agree? Yeah. Okay, good. See, you're not going to hate me. That's perfect. Yeah, I think those were a solution to a problem that used to exist and doesn't exist anymore. For example, a blog post, right? A blog post should not exist as 40 tables across this relational database. It should exist as a single record. Record databases like this also store the native format of JavaScript. So now what you have essentially is an object database for JavaScript. And as it turns out, indexing on this isn't as bad as you might expect. It can be fairly efficient as well. We use Mongoose on the back end to do a lot of our model logic. And we've got population, but they use something called populate to do what we would consider a join, right, between two collections. That populate command is almost exactly as fast as the relational version of the same command when we did our benchmarks on the project, when we first switched over to Mongo. And that was kind of the final selling point, was like, well, it turns out there is actually no benefit for us to keep relational, and every benefit to go this way. And so, yeah, you'll see new tools coming out, new content management systems coming out that are using this same paradigm. And Mongo is the one that we use now. I like the syntax. I've gotten used to it. I think that's really with programmers mostly what it is you get into a platform, and if it works well enough, you keep it around. We're still evaluating though, so I haven't sent Postgres off yet. I might end up with a pi stack instead of a mean stack. Sure. So what gotcha. So it depends. The populate. So what populate does is it creates an aggregation inside of Mongo. So that would run on the server side, right, on the Mongo server, as opposed to, and they're also, that's if it can, if there's an efficient way to do it. Otherwise, it defaults to what is essentially like a map, which is not ideal, not efficient. But the way that we had written our collections, we knew it wasn't going to be that relational anyway. everything is pretty much a person and all the information about that person. So yeah, that's for us. Those queries all are able to be done in aggregates in the back end, and it ends up being pretty efficient. Yeah, that's exactly what it does. Yep. So yeah, you define an object ref, and you give it the type in your front end, and it'll do the aggregation in the back end. That's a really good question. I don't know actually. I'd have to see what's on the latest. And it depends too on what your which repositories are open to you on your Ubuntu machine. If you have the latest or the stable, it may not be quite. And the Populate has been around a long time. I'd be very surprised if standard Ubuntu, the standard Ubuntu repositories didn't have it. Yeah, and you get a chance, check out the command, see how long it's been there. But it's been there for a while. And the other thing we use is AngularJS. This is our front-end technology. I am, like I said, this is an opinionated one. You can switch this out with other stuff, whatever your flavor is. I happen to think Angular has done a phenomenal job in almost fulfilling the promise of web components, which web components, if you don't know, are basically going to be the future of front-end web development. They allow you to build these modular, reusable components that are front-end, they're specific to front-end, but they have all of your HTML and your CSS and your logic all encapsulated into this one spot for this one component. And your UIs go from being this ugly kind of soupy mix of stuff to being specific pieces that connect together in different ways and that you can take out and reuse other places. Right now, their web components is out there. It's a spec. Actually, it's a standard. You can find platforms that implement it. Google has one called Polymer that does that. So if you wanted to use the real web components API, you could do that. Angular's is a little bit, at the moment, a little bit more elegant, a little bit more powerful. Angular has what they call directives, which are essentially a web component. Allows you to change the HTML tags here. So this pane tag, these tabs tags, these are all built in, or these are all defined by the developer, and they're part of HTML5 that you can use any tag you want. So it allows you to use any tag you want to name your components in your page appropriately. And what that does too is it brings in it fulfills the promise of the semantic web. So semantic web is where your website describes itself. The data is described inside of it. So you don't have to worry about, you don't have to create more and more intelligent web scrapers. Instead, the websites just define everything the way that it's supposed to be defined. We know it's a pane because it says it's a pane. It's not a div with an ID called pane. It's just a pane. That's actually from the Angular site. I very much copyright infringed all over the place here. Yeah, there are a few places like where I did some stuff in the terminal and put it up there, but this one I actually just stole right from their site. Yeah, exactly. So they officially by Google. Now it's been said. It's no longer infringement. It's simply fair use, right? Anybody here use Express? You front-end developer? Yeah, if you're a mean stack developer, Express is kind of the de facto framework for mean stack development. Even if you don't use Express, you will use the syntax of Express if you use another framework, because a lot of them use the same framework. Everything that they do is composed of simple functions with the same API, res, rec, next. You don't see the next in there, but it's there. Trust me, it's just implied. That has become such a popular paradigm that now even when you break out into other frameworks, most likely you're still going to have a response and a request object just right there at the beginning as the default. This was stolen from the Express site, actually, by the way, too. I am a programmer and inherently lazy, and if they already typed it, I'm willing to steal it or copy it at least. Yeah, I repurposed it. So Express is a small, responsive framework that allows you to build web services that react to events rather than sitting there and listening all the time. which is what Node was originally designed to do anyway. So you can write your app using these router.gets, and that's a get HTTP call. There's post, delete, put, everything that you need for building a RESTful service or any service that responds to web. And there's other stuff. Use Jade, use Sass, Git, Gulp, Mocha. It's really pretty amazing when you look at it, when you look at the list of technologies and all of it being open source, how important it is for this stuff to be open source, right? Jade is a templating language. Sass is a CSS preprocessor. Allows you to build better CSS because CSS kind of sucks anyway. Anybody in here use GSS, the grid style sheets? Okay, if you get a chance, check that out. Grid style sheets are constraint-based layouts. So the way you would normally define elements in an HTML page, you just float from the left or screw up from the right and try to. Yeah, exactly. And so constraint-based layouts let you take item A and item B and say they're supposed to be next to each other on the same vertical axis, 50 pixels apart, and it just works. It's not yet. It's something that we evaluated and that we felt at the time wasn't production ready, but it's been about a year since then, so things have changed pretty dramatically. And GSS2 just came out, so something to think about anyway. Show me. 51. Yeah. So I already kind of gave you a quick preview of Cloud9 itself. Sorry. There we go. So this is it. This is Cloud9. The URL right at the top there, ide.c9.io/sax1jono. That's my handle everywhere too. If you see that, it's probably me, unless they're doing something dumb, then it wasn't me. /SCaLE demo. And what I'd like you to do, those of you that have your laptops, is go ahead and navigate to that URL. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to collaborate. So as you guys start popping in here, this is one downside is I don't have that on here. I need to mirror it real quick. Do you want to? Yeah. Yeah, you have to sign up for it. So what we're looking at here to begin with, Cloud9 is an editor, just like any other IDE you might expect that you've used before. File trees over here, a menu at the top that seems pretty standard. You get a terminal that has root access right here at the bottom, and you can add, Git. Here we go. We got one so far. Matt, you wanted to request access? Deny. I'm just kidding. Let's see. I'm going to give you read-write access to this. Grant. So now he's got access to this workspace, and we can work together in here. When you get a chance, go ahead and open up that server.js file. Somebody else come in yet? Not yet. And what you'll be able to see is go ahead and, if you're up in there, go ahead and just start typing somewhere in server.js. You see this little cursor right down here? That's where he's at. Little green one's where I'm at. And we can start typing together. Let's see. It's hard to code looking at the screen like that. It's like, what am I typing here? And we got another cursor right at the top. We had another one come online. And what you can do is you can get a bunch of different people coding with you at the same time, looking at the same screen. I'll go ahead and add you guys too so you can see this.
Two people type at the same time?
Yeah, two people type at the same time in the same environment. And you see where your cursor is going. Go ahead and type something. It's like I did. It's not working. You're doing a demo, idiot. Server.js. It's right in the root, right at the very bottom there. Let me see. Grant.
There are chat discussion posts within the green.
Oh yeah, there's a chat. Actually, there's a discussion tab right there on the side. It's hard to see. I'll pull it up right now though. Oh, you guys are all into this now. Y'all came online. Yep, there it is. See the discussion right here on the bottom, Matt? Please keep it, PG-ish. I was, yeah, you never know. So originally I was going to put even a live Twitter feed up here, and then I was at we were doing a presentation for the Harvard Business School business planning competition. My company was in that last year, and they had this live Twitter feed going on. And so about halfway through, the presentation started to get boring, and the board got very interesting. People were starting to tweet random stuff and sending it up there. This guy, I can see his nose hair, and poor poor presenters don't realize that they're being insulted right behind their backs. And I thought that would be kind of like, that doesn't bother me. I actually kind of thought it'd be funny or fun to have that going on here, but I thought this would be better. So you can see when we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people now, all working in the same file, doing the same thing, collaborating with each other, and creating something different, interesting. Yeah, each one that you see there, little box with the line under it, that's a cursor of a different person. Yours doesn't have a color. Yours will just be, a line, a regular old cursor like that. Yeah. And we use this all the time. We actually work with people all over the world, and we'll all work together in the same file. We'll do code reviews. I've introduced it at a couple of different universities. I also teach at Norco College in Norco, and my students for the advanced web development class use this as well. So it's pretty interesting. I'll leave that up there for a minute and let you guys explore it. So that's Cloud9. That's the development environment that we use, that we really like.
By the way, how do you do the code reviews? Like, do you have audio on, or do you just chat through them?
We do a little bit of both. If it's a more formal review, we actually pull each other up on Skype, and we have a conversation going on. We used to do a screen share, so you would be able to see each other's screens, but this was just so much better, we ended up doing that instead. And then what's cool too is you have this has a full node environment, whatever you'd like. They have these runners down here. So what we can do now, we have this server.js open. I can hit the run button, and it's just going to spin up a little test development server for me right down there. It'll give me a URL that I can go to, and then you guys can see and actually play with the chat app that's built into here. I think it's a little bit pissed off that we're doing everything all at once, but you know what I'm going to do is I'll let me turn off the debug part. Is that it? It's hard to see over there, sorry. And you can see the command here that it's running, this node server.js. You can also run io.js. You can run Ruby, Python, Java. This will run a bunch of different ones. Oh, we got an error. What happened? Let's see. Somebody broke it. Who broke it? Why did it switch over to another screen? Okay, I'll let you finish. Go ahead and finish it. Let's see. Yeah, we had just a minor error. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll play it, and we can actually play with this and watch the server. By the way, this app is a little chat server. So not only will you guys now have gotten to write it, but you're also going to get to chat with each other in it as well. You're still read-only? Oh, sorry. I knew there was something fishy. As soon as you said you were from Drupal, I was like, nah, I think he's not. Happy Dave. Did we break it? I think I reached the practical limit. So at any point, we've had between 5 and 7 people working in the same space, so we might be approaching its limit. So the rest of you will just have to hold on to your horses and wait. So ready? It still looks like it's busted there, I think. That's okay, because you know what I'll do is I'm just going to, if it doesn't work this time, I'm just going to git revert. Yeah, So I'm just gonna do a quick git stash. I'm gonna wipe out all the changes you guys did. Bam. You know, it actually has been a lot more practical than I expected because we have multiple workspaces. Everybody kind of works in their own usually, and we just kind of collaborate on it if we need it. But it's amazingly useful to be able to jump into somebody else's workspace momentarily and help them fix a problem. And then we don't generally code like this together because you lose version control, you lose git blame. Yeah, it's not something that you would do normally in a production environment, but we definitely use it very frequently. This sharing and collaboration part surprisingly useful. And once you get used to using it, it's hard to go back to not having it. Yeah. Mhm. Oh yeah. Absolutely. In fact, and funny enough, I interviewed with Google a few times over the years, and I've seen it change over the years. But they still have you code in a Google Doc. So they pull it up and they're like, "Hey, yeah, we're just gonna code together." I'm like, "Okay, code together. Let's do that." Sure, guys. Just because you didn't think of it first. Let's see. Terminals. I know. It's okay. I set it to collaborative mode. And what you'll get here is the link. So the application is running at that scale-demo sax1johno.c9.io. And you'll notice you saw that this was all public, so you were able to find my workspace. It was discoverable. You would be able to go to that application link if you wanted to. That's a setting. You can uncheck public, and that'll never show up to anybody outside of your organization. So we use this one for testing APIs with third parties. We'll point them to our development part. We can see all the logs, and then as soon as we're done, we kick them out. Let's just see this thing. What does it do? So the app that we all wrote together here, it's a chat app. Feel free to go up to that on your computers if you want to. scale-demo-sax1johno.c9.io and try that out. My name was anonymous. It's now going to be John. And what you'll see is as people start to log into this, you'll actually see more people coming up and getting access to it as well. Everybody's like, no, we're still busy kind of playing with the other thing. That was kind of fun. Yeah, it's surprising. Like you would think, in production, you're used to version control systems. Everybody can work separately, but this workflow has been a surprising advantage for us, and something that's definitely worth considering. There you go. And now people are signing in. This app uses Socket.io. It's probably maybe 40 lines of code tops to do something like this. Really a pretty simple little one. Yeah. I am adding comments to the code. Oh, you like adding comments to the code. That's good. One of my favorite things to do when I was in school, when I first learned about open source and how to get into it, I liked looking at the comments of the Linux kernel, because that thing is like foul. Like it's just some of the comments in there are things that I didn't know were actual things. Like I didn't know that was a curse until I read it there. I was like, oh my god, well done, guys. And if you were in my code, if we're collaborating, you might see that once in a while too. What idiot did that? Oh, it was me. Oops. Sorry.
Does Flatline just give you like one set environment? Are you able to change that environment through the terminal?
You can change it all through the terminal. So the way we're running it right now, we're running it in Node.js mode. There's a little drop down I'll show you right here. You guys can click on the drop down. Let's see. What do they call it? Right there, see the little button. It's hard to tell because it's all shrunk from the presentation part, but that normally says runner on it. And you can run it in Apache, you can run it C++ compiler, C compiler, Perl, Java, CoffeeScript. Oh yeah. Yeah, it actually has GCC, in it. Django. Yeah. You can write this is not just a tool that works for Node.js. It's actually a very robust tool. You can use it for pretty much anything. They've got runners for a lot of different stuff already built. But you also have this terminal sitting behind it. That's a real terminal. You can apt-get software into this thing. if you want to, and set your libraries up. It's better to use node modules in this case because it'll install those dependencies on every server you deploy to. But if you want to, you can play with the test environment there.
Is it Ubuntu underneath the covers, or
Yeah, this one's Ubuntu under the covers.
is that, can you configure that as well, or is that
Configure the Ubuntu instance.
let's say I want to use CentOS or CentOS
Oh, so somebody you named me there. Yeah. Let's see. It just says Linux this time. Huh? It used to say Ubuntu on there. They might have switched it out, but it still has apt. So that's all I care about. As long as I have apt-get, you know, I'm fine. One thing that's fun with this too is you can cat like /etc/ is it this proc /CPU info, right? Oh, yeah, that's somebody else can do that. I can't see it from over there. But yeah, you see, somebody else can do it since I can't see it from over there. You may not be able to scroll that terminal up, but I can. There you go. 16 core, some kind of thing out there. Pretty wild. So yeah, this is the environment that we use at Carte Blanche. This is also an environment that I brought into a lot of different companies, and it's something that I think is useful and interesting, something you guys might be able to use. There's also, let's switch away for a minute. Let's see. Yeah, we still have a little bit of time here. Sorry. I can't show you the other ones. Oh well. So yeah. If you have, so they have two different kinds of workspaces. They have a premium and they have a free. If you pay for their service, right, the initial account you get from Cloud9 is actually free, and you can create a single private workspace, an unlimited number of public open source workspaces, and if you pay for the upgrade, you get a premium workspace, which is its own dedicated machine. With the other one, it's still going to be your environment, but good try. You're still in a virtual environment there, and the premium workspaces are definitely faster and better than the free ones. But the workspaces they make available for open source projects are premium workspaces. So one thing that's really cool about this is if you want to work on an open source project, you want to create this workspace where everybody in here can collaborate together and do it, you can. And actually, if you could look at my projects on GitHub, which once I switch it out, I'll show you guys that. I always put, work on this project on Cloud9, and I put a link in there. And if people want to come and want me to give them an interactive demo or show them how different pieces work, they can just pull that up, and we can work through it together. All right, so I'll put that back up at the end so you guys can keep playing around, because I love to tinker with stuff like that, and especially when we all get to kind of play together. It's pretty fun. All right. So what's next for mean stack development for Mongo, right? Is it pies? Is it PG? Is it something else? Well, one of the big things that's come out lately that's been kind of an old thing rediscovered is the microservices architecture. It's something that a lot of apps are now leveraging and using. And microservices are basically something you already kind of do anyway, just not all the way. Microservice architectures take it all the way. So with a microservice architecture, all the components of your code are completely separate from each other, completely. And they communicate over a basic protocol that you define ahead of time. Most of the time, that's HTTP. So essentially, it means that every component of your app is a RESTful service that sits inside of itself. There are other components as well. There's Seneca.js is a microservices toolkit. So that actually will allow you to create microservice architected apps using Node.js today. And Amazon Lambda is kind of an interesting technology. Normally, I don't get too excited about commercial stuff, but this one actually got me really excited. So Lambda is basically a service provided by Amazon that allows you to run functions inside of their Amazon cloud, and they only respond to events and run when they need it, and that's it. So basically, it's a complete microservice system where you put your code, it basically pay per function call kind of coding. And yeah, and what it lets you do is build these very dynamic, very vast microservices, and they only run when they need it. They don't even run in a virtual. So normally in a virtual machine, you have the machine running somewhere in the world. With this, it just pays when people use it. You only pay when people use it, and that's it. So it's a pretty interesting new tech that they're working on. And you can sign up for Amazon Lambda today. They're actually the first service provider I've seen that offers microservice hosting, and you can use it now. And you can use Seneca.js written apps in it today. And Mean is not just for websites. Now, I've been kind of focused on websites here, but they're using Node.js everywhere. And everywhere you have software, you're going to need a good architecture, and you're going to need good tools. You can use Mean.js. You've seen these guys actually. Cylon is here at SCaLE. They're a robotics platform entirely in JavaScript. NodeBots, Ionic is a mobile app framework built entirely in JavaScript. Firefox OS is going to be ideally, hopefully, an open source mobile operating system that's entirely HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and you'll be able to write apps that connect with it in Mean as well. And then the Node Copter is actually a JavaScript-powered helicopter. Simple as that. Sounds really awesome. I kind of want one. Actually, I'd like to. So that's what those are. That's the future of this, is not just websites anymore. Microservices are not just websites. It's about connecting things together. It's about this Internet of Things. And JavaScript here is providing a common platform that everybody can use to connect to each other. And so that's what I got. If you guys have any questions, that's my contact info down there if you want to get a hold of me. I try to put interesting stuff out there on Twitter. GitHub has all the projects that I've been working on and that I've been pushing up there. And then my LinkedIn, which is actually the website URL.
What are your thoughts on
Offline access on in like web in general? Yeah. I mean, I think it's something that you have. Anytime you have caching, you always have that question of, is the cache up to date, right? You have that caching problem, which is a really hard problem to solve. I think in some cases you absolutely have to have it. Like if you're in a mobile network, I think you want to have everything cached so that you don't have to worry about it. If you're building a mobile app using Mean and you want, you're using the same data over and over again, yeah, cache it, cache away. I mean, so you've used SQLite before, yeah. Still looking for a good one that's NoSQL based. Level Up DB seems kind of cool, or Level DB. I kind of like that one. There's MariaDB, which is here as well. That's a NoSQL database, and it's pretty lightweight. Let's see if we can install Postgres somewhere to make that an embedded database, possibly.
Do you have any opinion on the Node.js and IO kind of split?
Oh yeah, I'm very opinionated, absolutely. Yeah, so so the core team, anytime the core team of a project leaves and all go start a new project, I usually go to the new project because all those geniuses just left, and I'm like, something's up with that. I'm not. That's kind of scary. What I like about IO.js is that it's so in Node.js today, you can still use ES6. You have to pass a -- Harmony flag, and then it lumps in all of the unstable features of ES6 with all the stable features of ES6. So if you want to use JavaScript 6 today in Node, you kind of have to guess at what is going to work right and what's going to suck. And it's not always super easy to figure out what's going to work right and what's going to suck. IO.js has everything siloed out. So the core of it is the absolutely stable features. They also allow you to add unstable stuff if you want it or if you need it, and it creates a very clear line between what you should use for production and what you should use for experimentation, and Node doesn't do that. So if you want to use ES6, I think it's probably the best idea to go to IO.js. If you don't really care, Node's been around a little longer, but yeah, right now we all still run in Node.js because until very recently, nobody really supported it yet, but Cloud9 now supports IO.js. Heroku supports it. All this support is what has made it something we're probably going to move to very soon. So yeah, and yeah,
Did Ace Node move back towards like a less controlled, or maybe bringing them back together, or
maybe it's in. I'm curious to see what the impact will be because
it seems like Node got the message.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, you got like Joyent's the company behind Node, right? And they know they've seen this community for Node get built up, and then they've seen how quickly there will be an exodus if you lose those core people. So they are trying to bring them back in together. I think it's hard to say, and it's hard whenever there's damage done like that. There's always some there's always some healing that they're going to have to do, and we'll see if they recover from it. But IOJS is very compelling, and it's Node compatible. It works with an npm modules, so there's really not a very high barrier to switching, and that's not a good thing for Node. We'll see. Yeah.
When you're doing Cloud 9 development,
Mm.
how do you go about refactoring your code?
Uh, so in terms of refactor, do you have something in particular you're thinking of, like a?
Let's say you wanted to extract a method, a subroutine from the so maybe change a variable name and have it change the process entirely.
Mhm. Yeah, you can do that. So Cloud9 has a lot of different key bindings that map to different editors that you might be used to. So you can actually use the Sublime mode, which will work just like Sublime. And there's an Emacs mode, which works just like Emacs, which, by the way, I'm from the Emacs world, and I know that's a religion, and so is Vim. But you can also do Vim as well. You can put it in any of these standard modes. And what it uses under the hood is it's an editor called Ace. Ace editor. That's always dangerous. I don't know why I did that. You never ever like type stuff into Google in a live demo because that's the best way to find bad stuff on the internet. Ace is the code editor that underlies Cloud9. It's an open source project in and of itself, and this is what provides you with a lot of the refactor stuff that you could do. So it does far more than just syntax highlighting. It actually provides the refactor code, like the refactor framework as well. So if you wanted to, you put it in Sublime mode. You can do like I think it's like Command Enter, and you can actually refactor all of it at once. So yeah, very robust. I've so far I haven't found anything that we couldn't do with it that we could do in another editor. And if there was, you just switch it to the right mode, and there you are. So it does. Yeah, this one will do it. Let me see. I'm trying to find the screen that it was on, and not make everybody totally dizzy. Yeah, you should be able to just do this. On a Mac, it's option is boop. Columnar selection. So yeah, you can go down and select. Yeah, and the best, I love that because then I do this all the time where what I'll do is I'll actually say, let's say I want to select 2 lines. I actually just want to get rid of something at the end. I just pop over to the end, and now you can delete multiple lines at once. You can add multiple lines at once. Yeah, and that one I just in on. Yeah. I mean, it's something that you now would expect an editor to do, and people are. I've been surprised every time I've gone to do something like that, and this actually does it too. It's a full-fledged IDE. I mean, it really does everything that the other ones do as well. Uh, yeah, think of a feature, I'll find it in there for you. Did, columnar selection. So you just drag and it'll select multiple columns at once. Yeah, that's what you get. You gotta gotta look up there. No, it's okay.
You change the Node version, let's say you wanted like a small version, something like NPM and then do
Hmm.
those changes.
Yeah, you don't even have to change the Node version in there because there's a selector on on the side there. Yeah, you choose which version of Node you want it to run in. So the same thing that I showed you that said like C++, C, Java. Oops. Well, it's gone now, so you'll just have to take my word for it. Uh, I could pull it back up, but I can't see the thing. So, yeah, you just select which version. There's a Node, version I think point 0.8. There's a Node version 10. There's a Node latest, and then there's a Node. You just enter the number that you want, and it'll automatically pull it down and use it. Yeah.
How's that Ace editor? Is it just a like fancy text area widget, or does it come with a server side, so it's useful as
Yeah.
standalone?
Ace by itself is all front end. So it's not something that has the backend part. Cloud 9 is what adds the persistent layer to it. But yeah, ACE itself is just kind of a fancy text area. It does have stuff that you can. It has more than that, but at its core, yeah, it's not a backend system. Cool. Anybody else want to keep playing with the chat? Everybody's probably logged out by now. We got a few people still in there. All right. Well, yeah. Thank you very much. Feel free to stick around and chat a little more, and yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Yeah.